This story begins on a dark night on a quiet street in New York, when the camera pans to a seemingly deserted guard post. There, a man named Henry goes on his night shift as a toll guard with a handsome but frozen face. His gaze was blank, as if his life had lost its direction. Street light and the flow of vehicles passing by are no longer able to upload it, so he just sits waiting for the time to roll until his shift is over. When the night ended, Henry returned home with the same cold demeanor. He arrived at the house where Debbie, his wife, had prepared breakfast. They greeted each other stiffly, and when Debbie asked in an almost desperate tone if Henry still loved her, Henry replied that of course he still loved her. But the answer came out without emotion and without any change in his expression.
Cindy and Bill's this weekend?
Sure.
I don't want to go to Cindy and Bill's. I want Cindy and Bill to come here.
You're talking about kids.
Of course I am. Henry, do you still love me?
The conversation that morning reveals Debbie's desire to have children, while Henry, although he does not hate children, is not at all called to have offspring. The atmosphere continued to be crushed by the awkwardness until the doorbell rang loudly. Debbie, who was still waiting for Henry's decision, chose to remain seated. Meanwhile, Henry opened the door and found Eddie, an old friend, standing there with Joe, who was drunk and vomiting. Henry then brought Joe into the house, and Eddie explained that they were planning to play a baseball game. But they were short of players because Joe was sick, so Eddie asked Henry to replace Joe. Henry refused, but eventually agreed. However, it slowly became clear that the invitation was just a cover.
Where's this game?
Near Kaisertown, about 15 minutes away. Just pull right over here.
On the way, Eddie asked to stop at an automated teller machine with the excuse of taking money to buy drinks, and Henry is asked to wait in the car. In the driver's seat, Henry noticed something odd because the car's engine was not started normally, but with wires connected, which indicated that the car was a stolen car. Sure enough, Eddie and two other men were waiting for him not to play baseball, but to break into the bank to rob it. Their ill-conceived plan quickly fell apart because they were caught unprepared. The alarm sounded, the employees panicked, the security guard prepared his gun, and Henry, clueless, could only raise his hands and surrender. He, innocent, was arrested on the spot and interrogated. He refused to name anyone, perhaps out of loyalty to Eddie, or because he only knew Eddie. The legal process then continued, and the judge found Henry guilty.
Court sentences Henry Torn to 3 years in prison for the...
Surprisingly, Henry accepted the verdict with a resigned and calm attitude, as if life at home and in a prison cell no longer made any difference to him. Inside the prison, Henry was placed in a cell with Max, a seasoned, middle-aged convict in his 50s who appeared relaxed and wise. The two got acquainted and became close. Max introduced Henry to the unwritten rules behind bars and also introduced him to the other inmates. One evening while eating together, Max shared an idea that would later change the course of Henry's life. He said that the greatest evil is not to commit a despicable act, but to never dare to pursue a dream. When Max asked Henry what his dream was, Henry was confused and admitted that he wasn't sure he had one. For Max, this was the strangest thing because living without dreams meant living a hollow life, and that seed of thought slowly grew in Henry's mind.
Is not committing to your dream. What is yours anyway?
I'm not sure I ever had one.
About a dream? I mean, what kind of life's that? I don't mean any offense, Henry, but you're in jail.
6 months passed quickly, and Debbie came to visit Henry in prison with her usual cold expression. However, her visit brought bitter news for Henry because Debbie told him that she was going to marry Joe, the man who had vomited in front of their house and who was also involved in the robbery. Henry responded to the news with only a small smile and congratulations without excessive emotion. Time passed, and a year later Henry had become accustomed to life in prison. Max remained a source of entertainment and insight for the other inmates, while Henry let his beard grow as a sign of sadness that was perhaps not entirely apparent on his face.
What I'm gonna do for us this time if we let you out. I'm gonna break into your house and then I'll kill your dog. They set the house on fire. And I'll bite and I'll mangle and I'll tear the tongue out of everything that's breathing.
Scared the shit out of me, I tell you that. When's your review coming up?
Next month.
Henry's innocent.
I didn't do the crime.
Hey, but you got the time. So you might as well have done it.
If you did the time, you might as well have done the crime. I mean, it's skill.
You never told me your dream.
Finally, the day of his parole arrived. Henry said goodbye to Max with a straight face and walked out without a clear destination. He then went to the old house now occupied by Joe and Debbie. The meeting was cold and very awkward. Joe greeted Henry like a guest, while Debbie remained calm and offered him a drink. Henry was then surprised to learn that Debbie was pregnant. Afterward, Joe thanked Henry for not revealing his identity to the police during the bank robbery. However, Henry responded sarcastically, saying he didn't know Joe's name at the time.
That's everything you wanted.
Just wanted to say thank you,
I don't know your name.
What are you gonna do now?
Homeless and jobless, Henry stood in front of the bank that had once landed him in prison, and afterwards he remembered Max's words that said that if you have served time for a crime you didn't commit, then just commit the crime in that place. A tempting and very dangerous thought. It was at that time that a car hit him from behind, and from that small incident he met Julie, a local actress who at that time was going to practice for a performance in an old theater building. Julie appears to be both firm and compassionate. She was initially angry that Henry had blocked her path, but she still made sure he was okay so the situation wouldn't escalate into legal action.
You weren't even looking where you were going! Are you okay?
Yeah, don't get up, I'll call an ambulance.
He walked right out into the street.
No, I saw the whole thing. You were on your phone, you weren't even paying attention.
Coincidentally, Frank, the bank security guard who had arrested Henry, passed by and recognized him. So the three of them headed to a cafe near the theater, where Julie treated Henry to coffee before rushing to her rehearsal.
Did you call an ambulance?
It's okay, I really am fine.
And, be more careful.
Inside the cafe, Henry, who was urinating, saw an old article posted on the toilet wall. The article revealed a fact from the era of Prohibition that there was a secret tunnel that once connected the theater building where Julie practiced to the bank vault that was now the source of her suffering. Henry read the news clipping seriously, thinking about every word, and a bold and dangerous idea began to grow in his mind. If he had previously been imprisoned for being accused of robbing a bank that he hadn't actually done, then perhaps now was the right time to actually carry out the robbery himself. A decision that sparked inner conflict, yet also gave Henry a long-lost purpose. After reading the old article, Henry began to feel that his life needed a major change. He returned to see Max in prison and confessed that he finally had a dream.
I figured it out.
You figure what out?
My dream.
Oh, the bank is your dream.
Yeah.
What kind of cockamamie dream is that?
I did the time. I may as well have done the crime.
Help you what?
Will you help me rob the bank?
But instead of becoming an actor or a businessman, the dream he was referring to was robbing a bank. Max was shocked to hear this and flatly refused his invitation. For him, prison had become his home, and he didn't want to leave just to commit a crime. But Henry didn't give up on his plan because he couldn't accept having spent several years behind bars without ever doing anything meaningful. He wanted to try it, and for that, he needed Max's help. And after much debate, Max finally agreed. Once Max was released from prison, they lived together in a small house near the bank that would be their target. And the next day, Henry took Max to the cafe where he first found the old article. From there, Max realized that the map they had was at least 80 years old. The structure of the bank had certainly changed, so they had to check it out for themselves.
Are you kidding me? This is your plan? No, this is 80 years ago. So, first thing we do is we go to this old bank of yours and we'll see if that's there.
What kind of account would you like to open?
My uncle, he put all his money in your vault when I was a kid. I mean, what was my point anyway?
At the bank, Max, with his sharp wit, managed to observe that the tunnel passage was still there, only it was closed. From there, they continued to the theater where Max disguised himself as an old actor who had performed decades ago. Thanks to the help of Julie, an actress who was rehearsing there, they managed to enter and check out the inside of the theater. The theater manager even confirmed that there was indeed an old tunnel, but the path was now blocked by the dressing room of an actor named David. Since then, Henry and Julie's relationship has grown closer. He invited her to a simple dinner, which then continued on a date, and ate Chinese food together. Henry, who had always seemed stiff, slowly began to open up and feel love. To break through David's room, Henry must participate in the play The Cherry Orchard, and with a trick arranged by Max, Henry finally gets a role in the theater. Although the theater director is known to be fierce and often scolds Julie, Max believes that Henry has natural talent. As it turns out, Henry adapts quite quickly to the stage, and after that, behind the scenes, they put their plan into action.
Lower. shit pile of dirt.
The dressing room wall is successfully breached, but the tunnel is found to be filled with sand, and because of that, they need additional help. Henry then recruits Joe, a drunk man who is fed up with his job. Joe finally agrees, and from then on, the three of them start digging the tunnel.
Through the front door. Joseph, we're not doing one of those stupid robberies with tellers.
Henry.
However, everything changed when Frank, the bank security guard who had previously arrested Henry, found out about their plan.
Now I see you coming out of the theater behind the bank. I know what you're up to, gentlemen.
Luckily, instead of reporting him, Frank asked to join them. It turned out that he had a personal reason for joining them, because last year the bank where he worked had refused to give him a loan when his wife was sick, and she eventually died. Now he wants revenge, and also wants to experience the money from the robbery once in a lifetime.
So what's on your mind, Frank?
Once a month, a truck goes to all our partner banks, takes up all the currency and brings it back home. 8 to 12 million held in our vault.
Their problems didn't end there because Joe, who was drunk, brought along his old friend Henry Eddie. Eddie insisted on joining even though he didn't want to dig the tunnel. Max was angry at first, but eventually accepted it because there was no other choice. Meanwhile, the drama rehearsals became increasingly tense. Julie was getting more and more stressed because she was constantly being scolded by the director.
That's right, Julie. Run!
5 minutes, people. 5 minutes, everyone.
Are you okay?
I hate him.
I can't do it.
You can't do what?
I can't do this.
You forced me out of jail to help you. See, I got through my whole life with my mouth, bullshit. But now I am gonna do something.
Take a chance on Buffalata.
We can show our audience of our imagination.
10 minutes, people. 10 minutes.
Finally, the night of the Cherry Orchard's performance arrived, and as the show progressed, Max, Joe, Eddie, and Frank moved backstage. Eddie, with his expertise, managed to open a path to the safe and hauled a large sum of money into a sack.
Where is he? Where is that old geezer?
Go.
Go, go!
Nice of you to join us, old man.
Meanwhile, Henry, in between performances, also stepped in to help. But this is where the big problem arose, as Eddie turned out to be a traitor. He pointed a gun at Max and intended to run off with all the money.
We're here, we're done. Come on.
Shut up, Joe. No happy ending for you, my friend.
You animal! You old Max!
Luckily, Max was more alert, and after a few hits, Eddie immediately fainted. The rest of the team then took the money to the car, but halfway there, Henry suddenly asked to stop. He realized that all the money was not what he was really looking for because all he wanted right now was Julie, and without hesitation he then returned to the theater. When Henry arrived, the show was almost over, and Julie was still performing on stage. Henry then went up in the final scene, and in front of the audience he declared his love for Julie.
On that stupid train, you made a mistake.
I'm not telling you how I feel.
No, don't pretend you care about me.
You think this is about money?
Yes.
It's never...
The two then kissed, and the audience thought it was part of their play, when in fact it was the moment of their love story.
Henry, tell me.
Meet me in Moscow.
Go with him!
Meet him in Moscow.
Lights down, 10.
The film concludes with the message that Henry crime is more than just a heist. It's a story about finding one's identity, the courage to dream, and finding true love. Julie once said that The Cherry Orchard is a story about leaving the past behind and starting a new life, and that's exactly what Henry is doing.